guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm sharing 4 really quick and easy dinner recipes. These are all going to be perfect if you are cooking for a family or if you have kids to feed. They're all kind of crowd pleaser dinners. So I think you guys are really going to enjoy these recipes. If you are new here, I have a lot of cooking videos on my channel, crockpot recipes, things like that. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you have not already. But let's go ahead and get into today's video. For this first recipe, I'm making a chicken pot pie, and this is a new recipe for us. I've actually never made chicken pot pie before this, but our whole family really liked it, so I think you guys will like this recipe as well. It's also really simple, quick and easy to throw together. So this is just a pie crust that I'm unrolling and getting prepped in my pan. Use whatever one you have, get them at your store, or you can make them homemade, but I was going for easy on this night. Once the pie crust was prepped and ready to go, I just melted about half a stick of butter in my skillet, and then I'm adding in 1 large onion that I had chopped up, and I'm just going to cook this until the onion is translucent in color. It probably took about 5 minutes or so, and then I'm adding in 1 can of cream of chicken soup. If you're wondering why there's no label on here, it's because my kids went in my pantry, ripped all the labels off, so I actually had to play a little game of can relay to see what was in each of the cans. It took me a few tries to actually find the right one. I added in half a cup of water and then also a bag of mixed vegetables here, and I'm just letting all of this kind of simmer together before I add in the chicken. I'll link the recipe that I used down below in the description box like always, but I'm just adding in a little bit of salt and pepper. I didn't add too much salt because I didn't want it to be too salty, garlic powder, and then I also added a little bit of paprika in here. The recipe did not call for specific measurements, so just add that to taste. You can give it a taste, see what you think, and adjust the seasonings. For the chicken in this dish, you're going to want about 2.5 cups of cooked shredded chicken. So I just cooked mine in my slow cooker. I cooked it all day, and then when it was dinner time, I just shredded it up with a hand mixer, and it was perfect for this recipe. But if you want to simplify it, you could definitely use a rotisserie chicken from the store, and that would work perfect. After tasting this mixture, I felt like it was just a little bit on the dry side, so I ended up adding in about half a can of cream of mushroom. This was actually one of the cans that I opened when I was trying to find the cream of chicken, so I figured I might as well use a little bit of it, and I felt like it added the moisture that this chicken needed. So I got that up to a simmer, heated it through, and then I just added it into my prepared pie crust. And then of course you're going to want to top this with the other pie crust in the box, or like I said, use homemade, either works just fine. And then you're just going to seal the 2 crusts together. So you do want to give these like a good pinch together so it doesn't open up, so the inside isn't oozing out. I am by no means a pie expert. I rarely make pie, honestly, but this turned out pretty good. Seal it all up, and then you're just going to pop this in the oven for about 35 minutes at 425 degrees. This is what the pie looked like when it came out of the oven. This was actually really good. Our kids really liked this, and this is definitely one that I'll be making again. It was also very easy to put together. It only took a little bit of prep time, and we really enjoyed it. Now for this next recipe, we are making one of my personal favorites. This is a taco pizza. I'm going to start off by making the pizza dough. So you're just going to want 2 1/4 teaspoons of yeast. This is the one that I use. I will have this recipe linked down below, but it's really easy. You're just going to add a cup of warm water here, mix it together, and then I like to let it sit for about 5 minutes while that yeast activates. Once the 5 minutes have passed, you can go ahead and add in about half a teaspoon of salt, 2 teaspoons of olive oil, and then you're going to add in part of the flour. So the recipe calls for 2.5 to 3.5 cups of flour. I would definitely recommend starting off with adding about 2 cups of flour and then see where you're at. I always just mix it up with the dough hook right away, let it come together, and then we'll see how much flour we need to add after that. I usually end up adding about 2.5 cups of flour total for this recipe. Definitely don't add the full amount at one time. You want the dough to be not sticky. When you touch it with your finger, it doesn't stick to your finger, and that should be about perfect. Then you're just going to mix this in your stand mixer for a couple of minutes. Once it's all mixed together, just add it into a well-oiled bowl, and this is going to take about an hour to rise. You want it to double in size. Once the dough is just about risen all the way, you're gonna start your toppings for your taco pizza. So this is actually a pound of some lean ground beef that I had already cooked up. You're gonna add in a package of taco seasoning and then also a can of refried beans. You're also gonna add some water in here. It's just basically to get everything to combine. Otherwise the mixture is gonna be way too thick without it. So I would say you're gonna want to add about a 1/4 cup of water, maybe a little bit more. I probably added just a little bit more than a 1/4 cup of water just to get everything to combine together. Once the pizza dough had completely risen through, I'm just punching it down to get all of the air out of it, and then I'm just going to spread this out onto my baking sheet. I will have this pizza pan linked down below. I always get a lot of questions on it when I use it in videos. I believe the brand is Wilton, but I will link it down below. It's the perfect size for a family-sized pizza, so I love using this one. Just go ahead and bake that pizza crust at 400 degrees for about 7 minutes. I like to just pre-bake it just a little bit before adding on the top. So you're going to add on this hamburger mixture here, get that spread out. It's not going to be very pretty looking, but I promise this tastes so good once you actually get it all done. Our kids love this recipe. I love it. My husband loves it. Top it with your favorite cheese, and then this is just going to go into that preheated oven. I ended up baking it at about 400 degrees for another like 10, 12, 15 minutes, just depending on your oven. And then once it comes out, I like to add just a little bit of butter to the crust to give it a little more flavor and softness. And then you're gonna top this up with all of your favorite taco toppings. Pretty much think anything that you would put on a taco, go ahead and put on this instead. So I like to add on taco sauce, lettuce, tomatoes. You can do black olives if you want. But the one thing that I would definitely recommend not skipping is to add a little bit of crushed Doritos to the top. I swear it makes this dish so good, so tasty. If you guys try this recipe, definitely let me know down in the comments because it's one of my favorites for sure. For this next recipe, I'm just making some chicken fajitas. These are perfect to just throw in the oven on a busy weeknight. So I'm just getting all of the peppers cut up and prepped here. I'm using 3 bell peppers for this recipe. I like to use the sweet bell peppers. Of course, you can use whatever you want, but my kids love sweet bell peppers and so do I. So I'm just gonna slice all of these up really nice and thinly. The recipe calls for 1 large purple onion, and again, I'm just slicing that up into really nice thin pieces. For the seasoning in this recipe, you can get a fajita seasoning packet, but I totally recommend making it at home because it doesn't have all of the additives and junk. I'm going to link the recipe down below, but this is 1 tablespoon of chili powder, a tablespoon of cumin, 1 teaspoon garlic powder, a teaspoon of paprika, a teaspoon of dried oregano, half a teaspoon of onion powder, a little bit of salt and black pepper, and then you should be good to go. Onto my baking sheet here, I just drizzled on some olive oil, and then I added on 2 chicken breasts that were cut up into bite-sized pieces. I'm also adding the onion that I had sliced up, as well as the peppers, and just spreading everything out into a nice even layer. And then you're simply just going to take that seasoning mixture that you already mixed together and sprinkle that all across the peppers, the chicken, and the onions. You are going to want to add a little bit of olive oil, toss it all together, just make sure everything is thoroughly mixed together until everything is added, and then these are ready to throw into the oven. I baked these fajitas in a 400-degree oven for about 20 to 22 minutes, I would say. The recipe does call for a little bit less cooking time, but I always like to have mine on the softer side, so I always bake them a little bit longer. Like I said, I will have this full recipe linked down below, but we love this fajita recipe. I feel like it's maybe a tiny bit spicy, but my kids will still usually eat it, and I don't think it's too spicy. You could always adjust the seasonings if you think it's going to be too spicy for your family, but this is what they end up looking like. We just top them with sour cream, cheese, and this is a super yummy dinner. For this next dinner, I'm just making a simple salmon with some roasted potatoes and sweet potatoes. So I'm starting off by getting the potatoes ready since these take the longest in the oven. I'm just cutting up 2 sweet potatoes and quite a few of the smaller red potatoes. I went ahead and peeled those sweet potatoes, and then I'm just cubing them up into some small, really bite-sized pieces. Basically, the smaller they are, the less time they're going to take to cook. So I always like to make mine pretty small so they don't take as long in the oven, but I'm just getting all of these chopped up and ready to go. I like to keep the seasonings on these potatoes really simple, so just a drizzle of olive oil on there, paprika, chili powder, garlic powder, onion powder, and then of course salt and pepper. Go ahead and adjust the seasonings here to taste. They're not too spicy or anything like that, and I usually will add on some more salt at the end of the cooking time just so I can taste and kind of see what they need. So I just add a little bit of salt up front, toss it all together, and then these are going to get baked in a 375-degree oven for I think it was about 30 minutes or so, but it's going to depend on the size of your potatoes. You're just going to throw these onto a well-oiled baking sheet, toss those in the oven, and then we'll get our salmon cooking. Now for the salmon, I actually have 2 pieces of salmon here and they are completely frozen. So I did have to adjust the cooking time. If you have fresh salmon that's not frozen, you can definitely put it in for less time. But I'm just seasoning this with basically the same things. I have olive oil, paprika, garlic powder, and then salt and pepper. Really simple. I know this isn't really classic salmon seasoning, but this is our favorite for our family and our kids and everything. So I'm just getting this all ready to go, and then this is also going to get put in that same oven. I think mine took about 15 minutes, maybe a little bit more to get fully cooked through. Just make sure they come up to temp, and this is a super quick and easy dinner. If you've never made salmon and roasted veggies like this, it's a perfect quick and easy dinner. Well, that is going to wrap up today's video. I really hope that you all enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you all in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.